So she had me like in a field where it was like all these wildflowers, and she was just downloading me all this information. She was showing me how one word, one thought, one feeling could change the world. You know, that ripple effect, the butterfly effect. A soulmate is someone that's going to teach you lessons. A soul partner is a person that rides the same wave with you, but not on the same surfboard. Well, what's the life lesson that you're learning here? What are they trying to teach you? When you're not ready to see, or you're not ready for the information, or if you're not ready for this change, you're not going to get the message. So we put it in our contracts. Like I said, like you and me could be, it's in our contract that so certain people need to hear this message and they're ready to hear it. I was having a hysterectomy done, and the doctor, we had it done on a Friday, and she did the surgery. It took longer than what it was supposed to. It was only supposed to be like an hour or two because they were going to go through my belly button, that kind of thing. And I don't want to give too much information, but people are going to be like, "What?" But my uterus was 3 times the size it was. They thought that there was going to be cancer on it, but I had my stepfather who passed away. He came to me before the surgery and said, "No, it's not cancer. Don't worry about it." But what we didn't know at the time is that she basically ripped it out, not really cut it out. Okay. So I'll tell you what that means down the road here. So then, so she got the surgery done. My husband was worried, you know, because it was taking longer than what it should have. I mean, it took hours longer than what it should have. So then, she came in, I went in, they were thinking I was okay. She took off. She just left for the weekend. And so nobody was really checking on me. And then there was a time where after the surgery, someone was trying to, the nurse came in and tried to give me medicine, and spirit's like, "No, this is not your medicine." It kept me awake. Spirit kept me awake all night. And spirit's like, "No," because this is kind of like around midnight. And spirit's like, "No, this is not your medicine. Tell the person no." And so they came in and said, "This is your medicine." I'm like, "I'm not taking it because it's not mine." And they're like, "Yes, it is. It's your." I go, "Please go check." So then they came back and said, "You're right. It's not yours. Sorry. It's for the person next to you." So I don't know if the person next to me had the same initials or was it WG, or I don't know why. But then, like 2, 3 hours later, Spirit woke me up, said, "Stay awake." Another person came in and was wanting to give me some kind of shot or something. And I said, Spirit goes, "It's not yours again. Tell them no." And so that I said, "This is not mine. Please go check it." Went back. Yep, it was not mine. Then it happened 3 times. And one of the times the nurse didn't even come back to tell me it was not my medicine. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and so I had the nurses come in, but I never had a doctor come in. Okay. So it's going on to Sunday, and I'm like having a hard time breathing. My hair is turning. I mean, I wasn't gray then. You got to think this is, 22 years ago. I was blonde, but my hair was getting like gray. I was getting gray. I was having a hard time breathing. I'm just like, "Oh, what's going on?" And so then a doctor walked by, and he came in and he goes, "I know you're not my patient, but something told me to come in here to check on you." And he looked at me and went, "Okay, you do not look good. Something's off here." And so he literally himself, instead of a nurse, came in and checked my pressure and checked my blood and noticed that I was losing blood. "We need to do an emergency surgery to see where she's losing all this blood." Because I was to the point of I could have died. I would have been dead if that guy didn't come in. So I know that was spirit angels or whatever you want to call it, um, telling him to go check that woman that you don't know. They had to cut my belly open again. Um, and they went in there and saw that I was bleeding. It was a wall of blood just bleeding. It was kind of like if you scraped yourself on a road. Do you know what I mean? Like on rocks. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it was just pouring out. It wasn't just one spot. So at that time, where they're doing that, all of a sudden me went boop, and I was in a space of a lot of golden glitter. Okay. And it's funny, I just saw that movie Hail
Yeah.
Mary, and they showed him in, I don't know if you saw the movie or
I
not.
did. This is the first time someone's referenced a movie I've actually seen in one of these
Yeah, this
interviews.
is, the red glitter?
Yes.
That's exactly what it looked like, but it was gold. When he's in that red glitter kind of bubble space or whatever, I'm just like, "Oh, that reminds me of your death." That's exactly, it's like explaining me that way. So now I got something to go, "You know what that looks like? That's what it looked like." I didn't go through a tunnel. I didn't go through da 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 da. I didn't see people that have passed. Nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? But I was connected to, I'm not going to say it's an entity. I felt like it was feminine, but it wasn't a gender. It wasn't a she or he, but I felt like it was feminine energy, probably because never had a lot of feminine energy in my life. So a lot of coddling, so I think that's why they presented it that way for me to kind of fold into it, you know? And so she had me like in a field where it was like all these wildflowers. It's kind of like now here in California and, people in the springtime where you have all the beautiful wildflowers. Do you know what I mean? And I was like in this wildflower field, but then there was trees in the background. And she was showing me things. They show it to me in seconds, but numerous channels. It's really hard to explain. It's almost kind of like raindrops, but if the drops had lines in it, and it was like every raindrop was information, 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 because it's instantaneously because there's no time there. So it was like poof, all this information. And so trying to describe it here because it's so linear, it's really kind of hard to explain it. But it's like every single bubble or dot that you saw, like on the Hail Mary with the red dots or whatever, think that every single one of those bubbles had information in it. And then she was just downloading me all this information. And I still get downloads. I still get downloads. I heard on another podcast, someone said, I keep on getting downloads all the time since my near death. And I was like, yes, finally someone is saying the same thing as me because I'm like, I'm not just getting information when I had the near death. I'm constantly getting information all the time. I'll wake up in the morning where it's like where you're kind of half awake or half not awake. They'll give me information there. They'll give me information all the time when I'm in the shower, probably because I'm constantly working. I'm working 24/7. My mind is going, I'm connecting to spirit 24/7. And so she was showing me that. She was showing me how one word, one thought, one feeling could change the world. The ripple effect, the butterfly effect. She was showing it to me that way. She showed it to me because my family's from Holland. All my family is in Holland. I have relatives in France and South America and New Zealand, all over the world, because my dad had 9 brothers and sisters, and my mom's sister lives in New Zealand. So they showed it to me saying at the time, my grandmother over Hulumuda was over still alive in Holland. She didn't speak English, but my mom's mom was still alive. And so they showed me saying something to my mom and my mom calling up my grandmother in the Netherlands, and they said, "See?" And then my grandmother telling everybody else. And they said, "See how one word, one conversation can change the world." Okay? And then they showed it to me again with me saying something to my mom and her talking to her sister in New Zealand. They said, "See how it can change the world. Just one thought, one word can change the world." Okay? And so that's how you're manifesting, is through your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But they showed it to me as that everything is a vibration, a frequency, sound, and water. And so she was showing me how a frequency and a vibration, sound, and water can change the world, can change manifestation, can bring the peace and harmony to the world, how joy is the highest vibration, um, things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Seeing how powerful that we are, that the limited beliefs and our blockages, that our body is where we carry our fear, worry, and doubt and other people's stories. That's why it can't go into the other dimensional space, because when you're in a higher frequency, what people call a higher frequency, it doesn't exist there. They told me, I call it the is. People could call it now, whatever. That's why I say I, Debbie, is, not I am, because she was showing me I am is the future. I am going to the mall. I am going to the thing. But if you say I, Debbie, is, it's the present moment, right? You're right in the is. It is what it is kind of thing. Okay. So the heaven or the higher frequency, whatever you want to call it, space. She That's the way she described it to me. We can call it whatever you want, whatever resonates with you. But she was showing me that an example of being in the is like a tree or an animal. And she was showing me the tree doesn't go to the sun and say, give me so much sun, doesn't go to the dirt and say, go give me so much dirt, doesn't go to the water and say, give me so much water. It just is. Just like a seed, an oak seed is going to be an oak tree. It doesn't go, I want to be a palm tree. I want to be a palm tree. It just is. It lets the flow. It knows it's going to get that security from all the elements to become this powerful oak tree. And if it doesn't become an oak tree, if it is in a fire or it doesn't fully grow to its full extent, there's a reason for it. Maybe it's going to nurture another tree. The death of it is, you see that like with the big giant redwood trees and they're falling down, but they bring brand new sprouts under the tree. So they were saying that everything is connected and they showed it to me like a clock. And because I love the Victorian era, as you can tell, I love Victorian, I'm in a Victorian chair and da da da. Because I know I lived there in another lifetime. That's a whole nother video. But um, so she was showing me the mechanicals of a clock and how every little screw is needed. There's the big clock, but then there's the screws, there's the handles, there's a dial. And if we are all in sync to create the peace on earth, is being in our truth, not trying to be the big handle, not trying to be the face of the clock, not trying to be the big wheel or the small wheel. Even if you're the screw, you're needed to make everything. Because I mean, you lose a screw, you lose a handle off the clock, it doesn't work, right? So if you, it's, she was showing me the truth of our situation, that our truth, if we don't go into our, and how can we find our truth is through joy. What makes us joy? What makes us passionate? What makes us want to get up in the morning? Do you know what I mean? And it could be having a child. It could be that you have a garden and you're feeding the neighborhood. I mean, people would say, "Oh, that's being simple," but that isn't simple. It's, if anything, it's bigger than just going to the corner store and working at the corner store. You know what I mean? But it might not be that you're working at the corner store. It might be the words you're saying to the people, like, "Oh, way to go. You look so beautiful today." Someone could be going into the corner store and you're the cashier and you're thinking, "Oh, Debbie, I'm just a cashier at the corner store." You don't know what you're saying to people. You might be like, "Oh, you look beautiful today. That lipstick looks great on you." Or, "Hey, dude, your haircut looks great." You know, um, and it makes the person go further. Does it make sense?
Of course.
So she was showing me the power of that, the power of is, being in the is space if you're wanting to get into a higher frequency. And that showing me that the fear, worry, and doubt is the body of us and that it's always someone else's story. And that's what blocks us, is carrying other people's stuff. And being over compromising, being overly nice. She was showing me those kind of aspects. She was showing me things that were going to happen in the future because um, when I was when I was very young, since I was a child, I could do predictions. I would do predictions. I would I'd dream it or the spirit would show it to me. But I was in a hostile home environment. And so when I was 12, I told them, I can't do this. Because at my time, I'm a baby boomer, we only had like 3 channels. And I would see like an airplane crashing. And then the next day, we only had 3 channels and my dad would watch the news. I couldn't watch TV, the cartoons or whatever. And I would see an airplane crash. And I'd be like, it affected me. You know what I mean? Being a child. And I'm like, universe, I can't do this. I'm trying to survive in this home environment and then seeing I can't change this plane accident. Please turn it down. You can never turn it off, but you can turn it down, kind of like a volume.
Did the universe respect that wish of yours?
Yes. Yes. So they put it aside. And so she was showing me this aspect, but then through all this information that she's giving to me, she said to me, "You're not living your spiritual truth." And I'm like, I don't know what the frick that means. Do you know what I mean? And towards the end, she said, well, she's like, it's in your chart to be doing readings to help people find their spiritual truth. So in the meantime, I'm like, I don't know what telling people their spiritual truth is. I have no idea what she's meaning by that. Now I do, but then I didn't. Okay. You're not helping people find their spiritual truth. It's in your chart. Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? Kind of thing. And first of all, I'm like, I don't know what the frick that means. And second of all, she's like, it's in your chart because it could affect because you're supposed to affect so many people, millions of people, that if you decide not to do this, we need to replace you with someone else. Okay. So I was like, okay. So she's asking me, do you want to stay here or do you want to stay in this high vibrational place? And I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. When people go, when people say, oh, I'm like, I'll go. I'll go. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, I want to go right now. But it's so, so beautiful there. You have no earthly idea. You have no earthly idea how beautiful it is because there is no judgment. There is no judgment. It's peace. It's harmony. It's you're in your bliss. And so she was showing, and so I said, how's this going to affect everybody? So she was showing me my husband, she was showing me my daughter, she was showing me all these people. Then she showed me my son, and I was like, I was basically the only person because we've been through a lot together, and I was like, oh, I have to come back for him because he was like 8 years old. Okay, he was like 8, 9 years old and he had a lot of birth defects when he was born and going through struggles and da 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 at that time. Now he's handsome and he's okay. But so I was like, started crying. I was like, okay, I got to go back for him. And I'm not saying that I didn't love my daughter, but I knew my daughter would be okay. I'm not saying she wouldn't miss me, but I was like basically my only son's family that he had. And so she's like, okay, well, you're going to go back. But then she was saying at the same time, she's like, but you got to help people find their spiritual truth. And I was like, what the bleep and bleep does that mean? You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know what the frick these words are you telling me. I have no idea at the same time. And next thing you know, boop, I'm back into my body. Do you know what I mean? So, and she came back again. Like I said, she downloads and she comes into this frequency and vibration. It's really hard to not it's not hard to explain it, but it's almost like you're in a time warp. It's almost kind of like you're in a haze. And she came back to me and I was in Montana at the time in our little cabin and she came into my room and she's like, you need to help people find their spiritual truth. And I'm like, I don't know what the frick that means. You know what I mean? I don't know what that means. And she's like, well, you'll figure it out. Boop, gone. It's like, hello, McFly. And so it took a couple years after that. Then she was like, okay, you need to start doing readings for people. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And she's like, you're going to have to get a laptop and you're going to, make a website and start doing readings. I didn't even know how to turn up basically a laptop on. I'm so right brain. Even now, if I didn't have my husband, I wouldn't be able to be doing this talk with you. You know what I mean? And that's how, us people are. And the younger generation just love us older people that don't know how to do any of this. You know what I mean? It's like, but so she was like, you need to get a laptop. You need to start doing readings. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but I did. My website was really, really bad. I had some old geezer guy make me my website to the point that some other people were like, that's a really bad website, Debbie. You need to redo that. I'm like, I know, but I don't know how to do it, that kind of thing. And then she was telling me to go to at the time the nearest like crystal store that was by us or new age store was an hour and a half away down in Missoula. She said you need to go to this crystal store, which was basically the size of a bedroom. It was a really small store. I'm like, I need to do readings here. And they're like, oh, I didn't even think of that, having a psychic here doing readings. So I was like their first psychic there. And literally I was doing readings in a closet. They cleaned out the closet. That's how small this place was. And I was doing readings in a closet. And then Spirit was like, oh, you need to go to Oregon and you need to do the lecture there. There was a Body, Mind, and Spirit Expo. You need to do a lecture and you need to do readings. And I'm like, no, I am not doing that because it was like 8 hours away from Montana. You have to drive all the way down and then go down the Columbia Gorge and go to Portland. They want me to do it in Portland, Oregon. And I was like, and I'm like, my husband's not going to drive down there. So I said to my husband, I need to do this. So and he's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? So you know that the universe is trying to help you out. So then I go to that show in Portland and they gave me the biggest room There's a bunch of room. I'm like, I don't know anybody. I even went to the lady that's running the thing, and I'm like, why are you giving me the biggest room? I don't know anybody. It's not gonna fill up. And she goes, it's okay. It's almost like they knew. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm in fear, worry, and doubt. And she's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Just, I'll give you this room. I'm told to give you this room, so I'm gonna give you this room. So obviously she was listening to her insight too. It all works together. And so then I went into the room, and no lie, it was filled. The whole room was filled. And I talked about my near death, and I said, well, I'll do one question readings. Anybody want a reading? Well, I don't do the readings like, I see your grandma did it. I literally go up to the person and go, okay, what's your question? And people are not used to that. Do you know what I mean? So I would go, okay, what's your question? So, one person like, oh, here. So I walk up to her and I go, okay, what's your question? She's like, put her on the spot. But once I started answering, then all the hands started going up. And I did that hour of reading. I was running from one person to another and da da da. Da. And so at the end, I got a standing ovation. I'm just like, oh my God. And I go, but nobody's going to want readings from me. And I get out, and there's this huge line to sign up for my readings. I was like, and Spirit's like, told you, this is what you're supposed to do. It's in your chart. And I'm like, okay. See, we fight against our own truth, sometimes because we're in fear, worry, and doubt. What is everybody going to think? I'm not perfect, blah, 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 blah. All the talk that we say to ourselves. But like I said, I still get information, still get um, what people might call downloads or whatever from this near death experience. I mean, like I said, if I was going to dissect it to the full extent, it would take me hours to describe it to you of all the information that I got. But the most thing is do what you're compassionate about, what gives you joy, because that's in your chart. And people are like, well, I'm not going to get paid for it and da 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 da. If you're in that fear, worry, and doubt, if you keep on going back and forth, then yeah, you're not going to get the life that you desire because you're in fear, worry, and doubt. You can't have a high vibration and darkness at the same time. And they always give me the analogy of like the light switch. You know what I mean? You can only do a light switch so fast. You can have light and dark, but you can't have it at the same time because the light will always conquer the dark. It will always conquer the dark. And then they said to me that duality does not exist in a high vibrational place. It doesn't exist there. So they showed it to me as people that pass, they cannot judge you. So, like I'll do readings. I don't do mediumship. I don't say I'm a medium. Sometimes I can connect to spirit, if they're really strong. Sometimes I'll and I'll go, oh, is your dad passed? They're like, yeah. And sometimes they'll step in and I'll be like, and they're like, this is like a medium reading. Oh my God, Debbie. But then other people will be asking and I'll be like, no, it's not a telephone. I can't go beep, 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 beep. You know, the people that come through usually will come through to give you a message. Do you know what I mean? To helping you out, to get you on the right path, to get you to be in your joy, in your love, in your health, in your wealth, and spirituality and joy. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, because I've done it where before I did a show up in was it Vegas or Arizona or something, and I did a show, and this lady, I'm like, oh, your dad stepped aside and your mom's coming in. She goes, nope, this is a terrible reading. And I'm like, she goes, nope, my dad and me were so close. My mom would never come in. My mom is mean and did it. And I'm like, that's why she's trying to come in. She's trying to get you to be in more balance, not to be in this anger. To da 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 da. She wants to talk to you. Nope, not talking to her. Not talking to her. Not talking to her. So that's why I kind of step back sometimes on mediumship. It's like if you're not ready to hear the message, it takes a lot of energy for the person that's giving you the reading, and I don't know. I don't think it gives them too much energy because they're in harmony and peace or whatever, but they can't come down. I was just showing this week because I was talking to another psychic, and he was kind of in a depressed state, and I was like, that person cannot come to you because it's a lower vibration. You're being in the fear, worry, and doubt. You're in there, and I'm not saying that they don't want you to mourn them, but the mourning isn't for them, it's for you, right? If you're mourning someone, if you're missing someone, and I've had a lot of people pass in my life, a lot of pets pass in my life, And a spirit was showing me, it's like, yeah, mourn, only mourn for yourself. Don't mourn us because we are in peace and harmony. And we can't connect to you. If you want us to visit you or connect to you, I'm not saying that you can't cry, but cry in happiness of that you can connect, because the lower vibration is the 3D dimensional space. Fear, worry, doubt, and judgment can only exist in a 3D dimensional space. So if you're in fear, worry, and doubt, and they're in this higher frequency, it's hard for them to connect. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear how you describe it. It's just the body can't go with the spirit because it just doesn't belong in that dimension.
Right.
You've talked about frequency quite a bit, and like this is something, as you mentioned, I've heard a lot and is spoken about a lot, but it's hard for me to grasp. I have in my question sheet in all caps, what does frequency mean? Do you mind
Okay.
explaining that?
A frequency is what you're emanating, what you truly believe is true. So you could say, an example would be of the frequency of truth. I'm going to be talking about, because everything has a frequency, vibration, sound, and water. Okay. Everything does. So, um, the frequency could be your emotion, your vibration could be the sound is what you're saying to yourself, saying out loud. The water is your power. I mean, we're made of 60, 70% of water, right? Look what water does to the Grand Canyon. It created the Grand Canyon, right? It created the oceans. So your frequency is what you believe is your truth. So if you believe, even if you go around and go, "Oh, I'm beautiful," but deep down inside you're in the frequency of like, "No, I'm not. I'm just doing this for facade." It's going to connect to the frequency that's within you, because everything is within us, not anything is without us. So if you're in the frequency of joy, that's why I say joy is the highest vibration. And people argue with me, which is fine. I'm not saying I know it all, do it all. I will always say that. And a lot of times, my glasses. A lot of times when I'm doing readings, if you watch my live shows on Tuesday, I will say, I hope I'm wrong. And a lot of people will go, I don't know too many psychics that sit there and go, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Which I do. I hope I'm wrong sometimes. So it's like the lower vibration or frequency is the core of the truth of what you truly believe is true in that moment, in that is. Okay. So if you're in the frequency of, say, whatever your favorite place is, like mine is the ocean. I love the ocean. I mean, I swear I was a mermaid in another lifetime. Cause I mean, if I could live under the ocean, have a home under the ocean, I'm set. I'm set. You know what I mean? And so that frequency, that joy, and if I looked at my prosperity, my love, everything from that joy center, it would be the highest frequency, because there is no fear, worry, or doubt or judgment in it. Okay. So it's kind of like what a lot of people are saying now is like a radio station or a TV channel. You be in the frequency of, if you're listening to opera, but you're wanting to listen to country or rock and roll, you turn your frequency to the dial of what you desire to be or to listen to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that also is a good kind of visualization. So, about how you can't be on two frequencies at once. Like, you
Right.
can't listen to two radio stations, be connected to two stations at once. You
Right.
have to be aligned.
And you don't have to be in the body of you. This is another kind of thing that they showed me. If you don't believe in it, great. This is in my dimensional space. Okay. Is where they were telling me, like a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, you need to be grounded." Cause like I did a near death, there's a NDE kind of group. I think it's called Islands or whatever. And I was doing readings there. It was like 500 people there. And again, I was doing, what's your question? Well, spirit doesn't go in a row. Oh no, they make me go from one side of the room to the other side of the room to da, 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 da. I mean, I was like running all over the place. And the lady that was putting it on, she was holding on to the microphone for me. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't catch up with you. Why don't you just slow down?" And so after the show, but people were like, "Oh my God, these are really good." This is because spirit would go, it doesn't go in the order that you need to be. It's in the order I do the readings or pick the person in the order that the room is ready to hear. Okay. And it's not saying that there isn't more information that you could hear, but if you're not ready to hear it, you're not going to hear it. Okay. Or see it. And so I was running around, da, 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 and I don't know how many people come up to me and go, "Oh, you need to be grounded. You're too floaty. You're too flighty. You need to get in the body of you." And spirit was like, "No, no, no, no." And I'm like, "What? No, that will destroy you." So some of us highlight, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but you don't have to be in the body of you. The body of you is going to know how to function. The spirit of you, it's kind of like they say that you have a silver cord that is connected to the soul of you. It's kind of, like where maybe you're daydreaming and you get home anyways. That is being that's the body of you knowing how to get home, and the spirit of you can be outside of you. So when I'm doing readings, I'm not in the body of me. So it's kind of like my son, this was many years ago when I was in Montana, and I used to collect a bunch of people to come together on a Tuesday night, which is why I have my shows on Tuesday nights now. And people would come in, like 15 people would come in, and they would just give me a donation, and I would help them with exercises and all that kind of stuff. And so I was helping teaching this class of these people that would come all the time. And my phone rings, and my son calls up, and I put him on speaker, and he's like, "I need to talk to psychic mom, not mom, but psychic mom." And I'm like, "Okay." And people are like, what does that mean?" And I go, "Well, I'm splitting myself in two. There's the mom that's emotional. Oh my God, don't, be careful driving. And then there's the psychic mom that's like, "Meh, meh, 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 meh. This is what's going to happen. You're okay, blah, blah, blah." So, so you can be in that space of where there's the psychic mom, or there's the mom. And and I do that when I'm doing readings. Like where I'm sitting here is where I do my readings. So my body and my spirit knows, "Oh, Debbie's in that seat. I don't have any fear, worry, or doubt, so I don't need to be in my body. I don't need to be in survival mode." Right? So that pops away. The spirit of me can be above. My body's going to know what to do because I'm just channeling. That's why I say sometimes I'll do a reading and I'll be like, "Is your mom alive?" "Yes." And then 5 minutes later, I'll go, "Is your mom alive?" And they're going to go, "You just asked me that." No, I'm channeling this, people. It's not something I'm memorizing. This is not, I'm just a conduit to the information. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So you don't need to be, the spirit of you does not need to be in the body of you. It's going to be connected to the cord. And the body is here to learn lessons. We're here to learn lessons. And there's going to be at least 5 to 10 points in your life where you can choose that you need to learn the lesson. But we get to choose how we're going to learn it. We're going to learn that lesson, but we get to choose how to learn it. So an example would be, I'm going to go to California. Okay, so you're beautiful Canada, and you're going to go to California, right? Well, you could walk there. You could drive to Vancouver and take a ship down here. You could take a train down here. You could take a motorcycle here. You could take a bike here. You could take a car here. You could take a van here. You could take a bus here. So the way you get there to learn the lesson is your choice, but the lesson will need to be taught.
Do you think that we plan the lessons that we want to
Oh
learn
yeah,
before
way
and then
before you
we
came here.
so then where free will comes in is like how we learn them?
Bingo.
Okay.
So like here's a good example. When people that are single, and they'll go, "Well, what does this guy look like?" And I'll go, "Well, he looks like this. This is the next one that's coming up. But you might choose not to be that person. But it's not you're going to choose the outside. You're What the lesson is what the person inside is going to give to you. So say it's a bad boy or a bad girl. Do you know what I'm saying? And you just keep on attracting these bad boys, these bad boys, these bad boys. And that's the lesson. It's like until you're like, "No, I'm worthy of more than someone dishonoring me or having affairs on me or flirting with everybody and not making me feel secure." So there must be some kind of life lesson in there that this person is going to teach you. Like, no, finally have boundaries, or finally saying no, or finally not compromising. But you get to choose the outside: male, female, pet, parents, teacher. So that's a soulmate. A soulmate is someone that's going to teach you lessons. A soul partner is a person that rides the same wave with you, but not on the same surfboard. So that's how I describe it. So I describe it as a soulmate is you're riding the same surfboard, You're learning lessons from each other. And if one falls, you fall at the same time. Okay. But a soul partner is I'm riding my own surfboard. They're riding their own surfboard, but we're riding the same wave together. So if they fall off, I can pick them up. If I fall off, they can pick me up. Do you get what I'm saying? We can
Yeah.
hold hands and we can say, do you want to ride this wave together? Do you want to ride this challenge together? Okay. Yeah. Great. Let's do that. So that's why a lot of times, I'm not saying all parents, but a lot of parents, after the kids are gone, because they rode that wave together, holding hands for the kids. And a lot of times when the kids are in college and they're out of the house, empty nesters, they look at each other and go, oh, do we stay? Because now we're going to be working on each other. Do we stay with this or we don't stay with this? Do we want to ride the challenge together by yourselves? Or was the challenge to raise the kids? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's you're choosing if you're wanting to learn the lessons because a soulmate could be your dog, it could be your parent, it could be a teacher, it could be your neighbor, it could even be the school you're going to, it could be the work you're doing, the boss. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, you're pissing me off. Well, what's the life lesson that you're learning here? What are they trying to teach you? And I truly believe that people so like I'll do I'm trying to be ragadocious. I'm just giving you an example is like where I'll do readings for somebody and spirit will say they needed to get a reading from you because they needed to hear this. They weren't going to hear it from someone else. You need to say this to them because they're at a fork in the road. Are they going to choose this way or going to choose that way? And so maybe some kind of information I'm giving to them is like, oh, now I know which way to go. Or it's like, you know, I'm reminding them, no, you are safe and worthy to go that way. Just because, Sally, Tom, Dick, Harry is not going that way doesn't mean that you shouldn't go that way. Does it make sense? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that in the space because we're all connected. We're all connected. So maybe you had the person say, um, maybe you ran into a homeless person and you're feeling really down and out and this homeless person and you look at the homeless person, you give them $10 and you're like, oh, I shouldn't feel so bad. I have it better than them. And we don't know if that homeless person is an angel saying, I'm here to trip you to get you to back into your higher frequency. And maybe we had a contract like you and me talking right now. Maybe one person that is listening to this needs to hear this, right? And so you and me, before we came down, said, oh, George over there needs to hear this information. So we are ready to see. George is ready to see or hear this information. So you and me said, okay, if George is not ready to hear that information, then we're going to connect on this date at this time so that George can hear this information.
That's so interesting to think about, and I've always thought about soul contracts as kind of the biggest moments in people's lives, like the most intense relationships, but do they really get down to like such I don't want to like say like one conversation or one interaction is small, but like speaking to a homeless person on the street one time, could that still be a soul contract?
Hmm.
I just
Yep.
feel like there's so much I'm in awe of all the coordination there seems to be for one person's life and then trying to find out how to fit that within everyone else's life plans. It really makes me kind of in awe of the universe, like how intricate and detailed this all seems
It's
to
it's
be.
it's we're all entwined like a web. We're all entwined. There's all these connections. There's all these connections. It could be like opportunities. You know what I mean? There could be massive you're gonna have massive opportunities. That Simon Squid or whatever his name is, do you have a dream? I don't know if you ever heard of him, but and he says, and Spirit has shown it to me too, that there's 5 points, 5 to 6 points in your life where you could leave this dimensional space. Are you done? Like me, I had the near death. I had a near death when I was 17 also. Do you want to stay or do you want to go? Nope, want to stay. This one, in 2004, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Kind of thing. So, I mean, I could have left. I would have been in bliss, and and then there would have been other dimensional lessons. Everybody else would have learned the lessons. Someone would replace me for doing the readings or the words that I need to say to people. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Because have you ever noticed there's a lot of examples I could give you. So like my husband, he's my third husband, but we've been together, we're going to be 25 years here. Um, but I was working at work. We were working at Hewlett Packard. I was quality control. So I walked everywhere. Walked everywhere. So I never saw him. He worked there for a year. I worked there for a couple of years. He worked there for a year. I did not want to date anybody at work because I thought if it didn't work out, I'd have to see him the next day. And I don't want to see him the next day if it didn't work out. You know what I mean? And so I remember seeing him. Uh, he worked there for a year. Never saw him before. I remember seeing him going, "Oh, he's a good looking guy. I like his eyes. I'm an eye person. I like because a lot is seen in the eyes." So I'm like, "Oh, he's a nice looking guy." Da da da. Where he's been, Watch around this building. He must be new. He wasn't new. And so then my friend was like, "I know the right guy for you." I'm like, "I don't want to date anybody from work." And she's like, "Well, we'll make it so that you can connect with them and see if it works or not." And so what I found out was I didn't connect with him beforehand because he was going through a divorce. I would have never dated him. I would not date someone that's going through a divorce. I'd be like, "Nope." And I even said to him, "You need to date. You need to date. You just got divorced. You need to date. Get out there and date. If I'm single still, then come." It's like, "No, no, I want to stay with you." So when we are ready for the lesson, he wasn't ready. I was ready, but he wasn't ready. So then we connected at the right time, at the right space. Does it make sense? It's in the contract. He wasn't ready. Basically, I wouldn't have been ready either because if he was still going through the divorce, I didn't want to go through that. I wanted him to be free and make his own choice. You know what I'm saying? And so it could be that kind of an example. If you're not ready to see it, it's kind of like people talking about UFOs and aliens now and da 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 that we're going to be connecting to them in 2027 for sure. I've seen them. I've seen them. I've da 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 da. I seen one when it was me and my husband, right, only 50 feet above our head. I'm seeing him. I look at my husband. He's looking down. And I'm like, "What the heck?" And Spirit goes, "He's not ready to see them. That's why he can't see them." When you're not ready to see, or you're not ready for the information, or if you're not ready for this change, you're not going to see it. You're not going to feel it. You're not going to get the message. So we put it in our contracts. Like I said, like you and me could be, it's in our contract that so certain people need to hear this message. You know what I'm saying? And they're ready
Yeah.
to hear it. Hear it from you, beautiful you, or from our conversation.
Oh my goodness. It's just so much to think about, so much planning that goes into a life that no one considers. Considers the planning, I mean, not the life, of course.
Right. But it flows like a river. So that's why where people saying, "Are you going up against the river? Are you trying?" If you, I'm not saying not to plan. I'm not to saying have an intention or have a focus. But if you over dictate everything, you're not in the flow. That's why you have the synchronicities. That's why you have the aha moments. That's why you have like, "Oh, I see 111 or I see 222." That's your power that's seeing it. It's not the clock going, "Oh, Debbie's looking up now. Let me turn to 11:11." You know what I mean? It's that it's your power that is telling you, look at how powerful you are, that you were looking at the right second, at the right moment, at the right time to see the 111, right? You're in your power. So that'd be the perfect time to go, "I, Debbie, is rich, well, and happy," or "I, Debbie, is, beautiful," or "I, Debbie, is, most powerful psychic in the world," or whatever, because you're in your power, you're in that space because you created that. So if you're having challenges, it's the universal source, God, Buddha, whatever you believe in, is saying you're not in the right frequency, you're not in your path. And if you're like, "But I don't want, I'm too afraid to take that leap of faith. I'm afraid to let go of that job and start that new business." Maybe you got to ride the two horses. I did that. I call it riding two horses, doing that job where you probably don't care for and and I started doing readings out in the middle of nowhere, for 2 years and da 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 da. It was riding the two horses. Then I got the confidence in the truth of who I am. And the spiritual realm was like, "You had it all along, but the body of you was in such fear, worry, and doubt. You had to hold on to both jobs, and you're wondering why you're so tired." And spirit was like, "You could have let it go a long time ago, but because you were in your fear, worry, and doubt and keep on going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like we're waiting, it's almost like the angels are like, is she ready yet? No, no, she still wants to work those two jobs. Nope, nope. We were going to come down and help her. I get it. Nope. She's on right. She's wanting to work the two jobs. Let her work the two jobs until she believes in herself. Then we're going to come down and help her. Do you know what I mean? Notice when you get into your space, when you get into your joy, that all of a sudden everything just starts falling together. It's kind of like when you were dating, when I was single, it's like, I want a guy, I want a guy, I want a guy, or I want a girl, or I want a girl, or I want a girl. And then you start dating someone, and then all of a sudden everybody starts asking you out. And you're like, where were you a week ago, or a month ago, or 2 months ago, right? Because you're in the confidence and the truth of who you are. You weren't in desperation, right? So you changed your frequency, you changed your vibration, and you were in the confidence and the truth of who you are because you're like, oh, I feel safe now. I'm in a relationship. I don't need a relationship. So then everybody saw your light. Believe it or not, when you're in desperation or you're like, I'm begging for something, it pushes everything away because you're not in the right frequency. You're not in the right vibration of that.
So what would you recommend to people then, to like do positive affirmations, I is? How can they get ready for this stuff?
Okay, so there's a couple things I want to say on that part, and this is what I'm getting downloaded. Um, when you are, say, you're wanting great financial prosperity, say you were going along and you got this new job and you're getting the money, you're getting the 25 or $30 an hour and da da da. And now you're like, oh, I want more. I want more. I want more. I want more. And so you're like, okay, I'm not, or you're poor. You're wanting a job. You're like, I need a job really bad. And so you're begging, which is the wrong frequency. But then all of a sudden, spirit is saying to you, start doing affirmations, start watching movies, or start reading the books, or start listening to the reason that you are or focusing on watching the YouTube show or watching the movie or reading the book is because it's your universal truth is saying you're on the wrong frequency. That's the reason why you're doing the affirmations. It's the spirit of you saying you're on country, but you want rock and roll. So let's change your frequency by doing these affirmations. I, Debbie, is. It's not, it's not only just the words, it's the frequency and the feeling like, no, I deserve, I allow. You cannot collect anything. You cannot get anything unless you acknowledge what you desire and what your truth is and where your frequency is at. It's like if you don't acknowledge that you're on country and that you want to change to rock and roll or opera, you can't change. So first of all, you need to acknowledge what you truly desire. And are you in that frequency? Are you still cutting yourself down like, oh, I'm dumb or da 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 da? My mom says that's carrying someone else's story. So being in the frequency and believing that you're in that frequency. I really believe, Debbie, that because it's already done for you. It's already done in another dimensional space. You whatever you're desiring. If you're like me, I'm desiring a home on the coast. It's already done in another frequency vibrational place. When I get into the space of I, Debbie, is safe and worthy to have a beautiful home, like be financially free, to have a beautiful home on the coast or travel around the world first class or whatever. I need to be in that frequency, believing it is it's already done, and then saying and just reminding the body of me. You're not reminding the spirit of you. The spirit of you is like, it's yours, girl. That's what you want. It's already there. It's already there, right? So it's making you reminding yourself that you are safe and worthy to have that beautiful home on the coast or to travel around the world first class or get that horse or car or whatever it is that you're desiring, right? So you need to make sure that you first that you know that it's your truth and that you're not doing it for someone else. Okay. You're not doing it. I want to be a size 2 because otherwise the guy won't ask me out for a date. It's not going to happen. You want to be size 2 because it makes you feel good. I'm in my power. I'm in my authentic self. Okay. I'm fluffy. I'm a nice fluffy person. I will always be fluffy. Right. So do I want to lose some weight? Yeah. I want to lose maybe 30, 40 pounds. Do I want to be a size 2? No. Do I want to be comfortable so that I can be active, so that I can do things with my grandchildren. Do you know what I mean? So then it's going to happen. because I'm focusing on that. Does that make sense? So focus on your true desire that you only desire, not what your mom says you think you should do or your friend or, my all my friends are getting Botox in their lips and I don't want it, but I want fuller lips. Well, maybe the way you do your makeup or the way you know what I mean? Or you're like, no, I think I'm beautiful without having fuller lips. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Do you know what I'm saying? But you'd be surprised, if people might go, "Oh, what did you do to your lips? They look beautiful." And they're like, "Oh, I just changed my lipstick a little bit. Wow, looks great."
Mm,
I thought you got a lip job. He's like, "Nope," because you're in that truth. People are going to see that light. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's like if you bring light to it, if you bring joy to it, it brings happiness to it, not fear, worry, and doubt or competition or judgment. It can't fruition. So be in the space of what gives you joy. So, like, if you're wanting to make money, like if I desire prosperity, okay, my joy is finding missing people, doing readings, talking about spirituality. So that's it follows. People are following me. They're wanting to take my class. They're listening to my free YouTube predictions every Tuesday. They're listening to my free healings, but I charge for the readings. I charge for if I did individual healings or if I was finding a missing person, then I'll charge it for there. Do you know what I'm saying? So the prosperity, the joy, the happiness, the health, the wealth will come to it if you're in your truth. So doing the affirmations is just reminding the body of you that it's safe and worthy to be in the space it wants to be in. So you could just keep on, you don't need to say, I, Debbie, is rich, well, and happy. You could just say safe and worthy to go forward. Just constantly telling yourself and what you're doing is you're talking to the body of you. You're not talking to the spirit of you because the spirit of you is already in that truth.
It just seems like the body is the spirit is so free and happy, and the body, it's like you really have to work with it to make
But you don't
life
have to.
work.
I can say delete that comment because I'm going to say it in that way. Just say, what is the lesson I need to learn from this? What is the lesson I'm learning from this? So, like, say you're in a complicated relationship. It's like, obviously, I'm in this complicated relationship because when you're in a true relationship, I'm not saying that you don't have, because you're having challenges together, right? Not against each other. And in this 3D dimensional space, nobody's perfect. You are perfect, but perfection of what other people, because everybody has a different perspective. So you're not going to be perfect to everybody else except for yourself and for your spirit, right? So, but you could be like, I'm in the space of in my truth. I feel that having red hair and piercings or tattoos all over, da da da, that makes me feel in my truth. Someone else might not think that, right? But if you're in that truth and you focus on your prosperity from that truth, from that joy, not fear, worry, and doubt, that prosperity is going to come to you. And stop dictating how it's going to come to you. So other people are like, oh, well, I'm going to do it from, winning the lotto, or I'm going to da 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 da, or I'm da da da. How do you not know that you go down the street and you find a beautiful necklace and you think it's cosmetic jewelry and you go to the jeweler and they're like, no, this is a real diamond and it's worth $10,000. You don't know how the universal source, God, Buddha, is going to give you that prosperity. Stop dictating how it has to come to you because then you could get off your path, you know what I mean, of your spiritual truth. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So interesting. And one of the things that you've mentioned was the finding missing people. And this is something
Right.
I'm so interested to ask you about. Can you tell me about how that came about in your life?
When spirit came to me, it was telling me to do YouTube, YouTube videos. I was doing Facebook at the time and they were crude or whatever. I tried my best, but then there was a spirit was like, no, you need to do YouTube. And I was like, nope, I don't talk well. I have dyslexia. I have, my family came from Holland. So, and then I was born in New Zealand. I came to America. I didn't know the English. I have dyslexia. Everything switched around. Then I have this insight. Then I got all this information, squirrel, 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 ADHD. I'm like, no, I can't talk because people are going to chastise me big time. Right. And they're like, nope, you need to do YouTube. You need to do YouTube. You need to do YouTube. So I said, nope, fine, I'll show you. And they're like, good, show us. And thank God, you know, I did it that way. So so at that time, I would see people on YouTube. I started listening to YouTube because I wasn't watching YouTube or anything like that because Spirit told me to do YouTube videos. I didn't know the expansion of it. I didn't know what it created. And it's creating wonderful things now so we can reach out to each other. So then I started, watching other people and I was like, "Oh, I did that when I was 8. Oh, I did that." I didn't realize I was finding missing people or I could see where they were when I was a child. But years ago, I was in Montana. This is before I had my near death, I think. Yeah, it was before I had my near death. And I walked into a grocery store. This is out in the middle of nowhere. This is out in the woods, okay, Montana. And so it's this corner store that you see 90 miles. Get the gas there because you're gonna have to make sure you got gas enough to get to the other store. I'm an hour and a half away. And so I go into the gas station. There's a thing there, and the guy's missing. And I'm like, oh, I know where he's at. He's with his dog. He's on the other side. Committed suicide. Blah 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 blah. So I go up to the cashier and I go, I know where that guy is. And she goes, really? Where is he? And I go, he was in the woods. He committed suicide. He was with his dog. He couldn't handle anything more. I think he had an illness and he didn't want his family to suffer or pay money because they were poor. Da, 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 da. So he just let himself go. And she goes, yeah, I forgot to take that sign down. They just found him last week, exactly where you said. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I just didn't think anything of it. And then there was another situation that happened in our town. And I was like, and someone was missing. And I'm like, oh, it was, is it really weird? I don't think it's really weird. Things happen because they were supposed to happen. A week before, me and my husband did this major hike to a mountain lake, you know, and Spirit had me at the time said, look at this lake. Like it was more kind of like a pond. It wasn't a very big lake. And and I'm like, why? And they're like, just look at this lake. And I'm like, oh, isn't this beautiful? Take a breath, really. And I was thinking maybe connecting to the earth and releasing and, getting in peace. So then a week later, someone's missing and boop, that lake came up to my head and Spirit goes, they're at that lake. They're next to a tree. Unfortunately, a bear has attacked them. They're passed away, blah, blah, blah. So the whole town is like, we're looking for him. And I'm like, he's at the lake. Don't have any family members see him because he's torn up because a bear attacked him. He's next to a tree, blah, blah, blah. And they came back and exactly what happened. So when I let go of the fear, worry, and doubt, or I've got to find him, I can connect. I pop up and see above the forest, not in the forest. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I can't do it for everybody. It's like I know right away. It's like, oh, I can find that person. I will know I can find that person. And I don't usually do, like if someone's their partner or husband or wife took the kid. I usually don't do those, but I can do ones where if it's really recent or if they passed away or if the spirit will come to me and say, okay, it's time for the family to find me. Because there could be times where it's like I could find them, but the spirit is like, no, I don't like the kid on the lake. You know what I mean? Tell the family, do not see him because he doesn't want them to remember seeing him in that state. So sometimes that the spirit of the person they're trying to look for is like, no, I don't want you finding me right now. But then there's other spirits that will have me find them, and it's like they're thanking me, and the family's thanking me, and I find them instantaneously. Okay. But the thing is people are like, well, then why aren't you working with the police department? Well, the police department is not going to say this psychic found that person because there's too many of people that are doubters, lower vibration, that are saying, oh, you can't find them. So it's, I don't want to announce to the people because I don't want to have to fight that lower frequency, that fear, worry, and doubt of like, you don't know what you're doing. You can't do that. A 3D dimensional space thinking when really we all could find missing people if we were in the higher frequency vibrational space. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How can we um how can we raise our frequency or even become more open to receiving knowledge?
When's the last time you acknowledge your insight? So this is a thing that I teach people like when I'm doing classes or whatever. And I'm thinking of doing a retreat on this spiritual classes because I teach different than everybody else. I don't believe in the clairs. Do not teach clairs because you're putting it in a compartment and everything is connected. So if you're like just focusing on this, you're letting go of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. If you're just focusing on your feelings, your insight, your hearing, you're shutting that off. Do you know what I'm saying? And sure, one could be stronger than the other, but you need all to connect to it. Okay. So give yourself freedom that whatever way the information comes to you, the information comes to you. Doing the Claire, this is my thing. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I know that it works for me. Okay. And a lot of the people that I've taught that don't focus on just one way that, again, dictating how you're going to get the information, just like you're dictating how you get the money or get the guy or the gal or whatever. So it's kind of like being in the frequency of knowing that you're safe and worthy. First of all, say safe and worthy that I could find this person, safe and worthy that I can be in the frequency and the vibration of this person. Okay. Um, and raising up to that space. So it's like, I feel like this frequency of this person is loving and caring, and they had joy of doing a garden, connecting to their kind of frequency. It's like, oh, I'm connecting to that grandma that she would always wear blue, she always did it. So when I say I need to find a missing, is someone's like, can you help me find a missing person? I need to know what their name is. I need to know what their age is so that I can see where they are in their chart. Okay. I need to know the exact last place that anybody's seen them because then I'm going from that energy, not way before. I'm going from that energy. And it's almost like I'm like a snipping dog. I'm following the frequency of that. And then they will show me what is around them. So I'm going to be doing a taping of a lady. Hopefully she goes through with it. I found her stepdad. This was maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago. She called up and everybody else was saying, "Oh, he went this way." And I said, "No, he's to the right. He's in the thick of the woods. He's on a downhill. He had a heart attack. I'm seeing him against a tree and he's slumped like this. But he's in a lot of thick wood. It's not clearing and not where it's easy to walk through. It's kind of like, I got to go through the brush." And I said there's a trail that is like a triangle. And I go, you follow the top trail that goes off the triangle. So there's, dirt trail where people are walking. There's a trail here, and there's a triangle and there's a dirt road at the top of the triangle. Follow that. And then you're going to see a big slope. And there's going to be like a little creek or, a dry creek, whatever. He's in the slope, but he's in the thick of the woods. Okay. You need to get into the thick of the woods. Otherwise you're not going to find him. And so she's like, nope, nope, nope. Everybody says, because they saw him on the ring phone, the ring things, the cameras off of people's houses taking a left. And I'm saying he's on the right. And I said, nope, he's on the right. So maybe he went to the left and then he went on another side and went to the right because it was a park or a lot of land. And everybody was cutting me down, cutting me down, cutting me down. Like, and now I just go, Before I would have thought it, I'm not going to be in that vibration of the fear, worry, and doubt. I'm like, this is what I'm seeing. Da, 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 da. Well, a person that owned the land went, so she talked to the lady that owned the land. She's like, no, no, I looked there and I didn't find him. But she didn't look in the thick of the woods. She just looked kind of like in the backyard. Do you know what I'm saying? And so then someone was hiking. I go, that's okay. Some hikers or hunters are going to find him. And it turned out like some hunters, they found him in the thick of the wood, down a hill, and he was leaning against a tree and his head was down.
How is it not frustrating for you when people doubt you like this?
Before it used to, the body of me would be like, no, da, da, da. I'm not right fighting anymore. Now I just go, mm-hmm. Because I could do readings for somebody and they're going to go, I'm not going to go there. I would never go to Europe, or I would never go to Europe because of a man or woman or da 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 da. And then 6 months later, I'm not saying all the time, someone will go, guess what? I moved to Europe because of a woman, And I'm like, Okay. So now I just go, mm-hmm. But you can choose. See, that's that choice thing. I'm seeing the frequency that you are in. Can you go into a different frequency or vibration of like, oh, I want to go to Europe, Debbie, and I want to da 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 da. And they will show me the next person coming up. Doesn't mean that they're going to show me your everlasting soul partner. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you're learning these lessons. So I'm really good at like, oh, they're going to bring this person up to you to test you to say, do you really want to be with a nice boy? They're going to bring a bad boy to see if they're going to test you, and they might test you 2 or 3 times. No, I want a good guy. Do you know what I'm saying? I finally want a good guy. And so they could test you. I'll be like, okay, they're going to test you at this time. They're going to test you at this time. And then there's going to be a nice guy. And then and then maybe you're not used to someone treating you nice. So there's a challenge there for you. Yeah, I get this all the time, especially with women. I'll be like, oh, they're going to send a nice guy to you, but you're so used to you doing everything for them that you're going to have a hard time sitting down and they're like, let me do everything for you. And you're like, I don't know how to handle this, because I've always had to do everything. So that was a life lesson. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
So,
I suppose, like, all those life lessons are almost just as important as the end result too in our,
right,
like, life blueprint.
right. You're learning your life lesson. Maybe they're learning a life lesson, you know, to treat you better with respect or whatever. So maybe if you're say you're dating a bad boy and your life lesson is no, not to date a bad boy, but maybe your life lesson is also to teach him not to be a bad boy. That he will get the more acknowledgement when he's not a bad boy, but he was never shown how to love somebody. And you're going to teach him how you can love somebody without having to be a bad boy. So there's double lessons there. There could be double, triple lessons. So then maybe he has a son, or maybe you have a son, and he and is like, you're teaching your son, do not treat women that way or men that way. Do you know what I'm saying? So there could be numerous of life lessons happening all at once. It's not just people always just focus on one entity. And again, that's kind of like the Claire thing. Then you're not, it's you have to acknowledge everything going on to resolve it. If you don't acknowledge it, you can't change it.
Well,
Right.
it's like you
So
say, everything is connected.
everything is connected. So, like, if you're trying to find a missing person, that's why I'll ask somebody, "What's the last thing? What was going on? What's da 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 da?" Um, and then I will know their frequency. So, like, one person that I found in Holland was drunk and was at a bar and da da da, and his home was to the left, and I saw him in the canal, and I the first thing I said, Spirit wanted me to say is, "Where's his mom live?" And they're like, she lives way 180 from where he lives. And I go, no, he missed his mom. He was going to his mom. His subconscious needed his mom. So he was walking towards his mom's house. And they're like, no, his house is way over on the other side. I'm like, nope. I'm seeing the subconscious. I'm seeing where his frequency was. He was, I want my mom. And so he was walking towards his mom. But he was so drunk, he fell into the canal and hit his head and was stuck under a boat. And so, you know, that's where he passed away.
Oh my goodness.
So you would go into the frequency. If you were like, I want to find missing people, Debbie, I would be like, what's the frequency and the vibration of the person that is missing? Going to that. What connects you to that person's frequency and vibration? So, like, I found the person in Brazil, you know, but that one, and I don't know if you heard that story, and that's, I've got a video on it with me and Hannah on my channel, finding the person in Brazil. But I was here in Oxnard. My friend was in Bahia on the coast of Brazil, and the person that was missing was in Abidjan in the middle of Brazil. So, but I don't speak Portuguese. And it was my friend's kind of like a associate. She knew this lady. So she calls me up in the middle of the night. It's like 11 o'clock here at night. And she's like, my friend's missing, but I'm in Bahia and I'm going to talk to the people that is in Abidjan. And so they would talk to her and then she would talk to me. And I would say to her, you need to find this. And then she would tell them it would be in this big triangle, and I found the person exactly where she was by the frequency and vibration. And she wanted to be found. Sometimes it was funny because I just went to Bashar I went to the Conscious Life Expo. I used to do lectures and things like that there, but I went to Saw Bashar and I was asking him, I'm like, why is it that I can find these missing people, but I can't find the other missing people? And he said that you're not supposed to find them because they don't want to be found. It has nothing to do with that you don't have the ability to find them, but maybe I'm not supposed to find them. Maybe a family member is supposed to find them, or maybe the police are supposed to find them because there's a life lesson or something in the police that policeman or woman that finds her. Maybe there's some kind of story or challenge or life lesson through that. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not supposed to take their accolade away.
It's so interesting, and I'm going to have to do an even deeper dive on the videos on your channel. I saw the interview of a I think a detective on your website. This was I think
Oh
a
yeah,
while ago though,
right.
but there's so many interesting stories
Yeah, if you
that
say finding missing person Debbie Griggs in Brazil, you'll find the video, and it's me and Hannah. That's the one lady. She's with me. We're talking about it verbatim of how I called. Well, she called me, and then I was telling her, and then she would tell those people, and it just went back and forth like this for like a week. You know what I mean? For a couple of days, and I found her exactly where she was, to the point that I never thought of going to Brazil. And then me and Hannah ran a Brazil retreat there. And so people, and I said, I need to, so I went to Brazil. I went to Abidjan where the lady was missing. And I said, I need to go to the waterfall where she was found. Um, and you're not supposed to take pictures of it or anything. So in my mind's eye, they already showed me the waterfall. I had a really bad foot. I had spurs in it and a plantar fasciitis. So I had, I had to walk with a cane, and they showed me the waterfall that women are supposed to go there by themselves and then go get blessed by this waterfall. Okay. And then guys would go by themselves because you're in your swimsuit or whatever. And so nobody's supposed to take a picture of it and da da da. Da. And so all the women that were with us went down, and there was this big, huge, steep hill. They showed it in my mind's eye. And I'm like, Hannah, is there a big steep hill on by the waterfall? And she's like, I don't know. I forgot. And we get there. There's this huge steep hill. And I'm like, oh, crap. With my foot, I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, you can do this. I was just the last person. They wanted me to be the last person going down, go down this hill, go over a bridge, get the blessing from the waterfall, go back over the bridge and go back up the hill. Right. They wanted me to be last. And I'm like, why are you wanting me to be last? Don't question it. Just do. Okay. So all the girls went down, got their blessing, came back up. They're already getting dressed. They're already walking away. And so I'm at the fountain getting my blessing. I'm up on the top of the bridge, and all of a sudden I hear what, blah, blah. And I go, "Are you guys calling me?" And they said no. And then I heard Debbie, and I'm like, "Are you? Someone's calling my name?" And they're like, "We're not calling you. We're getting dressed. We're out. We don't need you." And all of a sudden I'm on the bridge, and I just all of a sudden I hear Debbie, and I said, "Okay." I go, who's talking to? What do you want me to know? And then I heard, "Thank you." And I heard it in this squeak, uh, beautiful, sweet voice, Asian voice. And I found out that the woman that I found was Asian. Her spirit thanked me for finding her. She's like, "Thank you." And I'm like, I go, "Was she small and did she have a kind of a squeakier voice?" And they're like, "Yes." I go, "She just thanked me." And everybody's like, "Oh my God." You know?
Oh,
So it can be in that spirit. It doesn't have to be this thick 3D dimensional space. Give yourself permission to be in a higher frequency. The higher frequency is more safer than the 3D space.
yeah.
People are afraid to raise their frequency, to raise their whatever channel. But the more higher frequency, the more fear, worry, and doubt, judgment, stories fall away. That's how you get into a higher frequency and vibrational space.
Okay. There's so many lessons to learn from talking to
Yeah.
you. I'm so grateful. Um, I want to ask how people can connect with you, but before I do, I just want to see if there's anything important or anything else that you would like to share for my viewers.
Well, the challenges that are happening around the world right now is going to overchange in 2027, 2028. What I say to the people, because I do live prediction shows every Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time on on my YouTube channel, Psychic Debbie Griggs. And I've been saying this to the beautiful, beautiful people. If you're in spiritual work, like you do in this beautiful, you know, podcast, or, the Riverside, um, um, do what gives you joy if you're in the spiritual realm, because in 2028, it's going to be inundated. It is going to be so inundated that, and it's already starting. I'm seeing it because I had to run from it. Do you know what I mean? I had to hide from it. So it's and like if this beautiful purplish pink pen is you, and if you're already talking about it and getting your acknowledgement and working on if it's being a psychic, or if it's being a medium, or if it's doing a podcast, or it's being a healer, or or doing your art or whatever, I would say present it now. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you're creating a foundation, because in 2028, especially 2030, by 2030, it's going to be billions of people are going to be into it. And if you already got your security, you're going to stick up. If you don't, you're going to blend in and you're going to fight all these people for that. So if you're create your foundation now, because you're going to thank me by 2028 or 2030. You're going to be like, oh, I already have my foundation. I already have the people that are following me, the people that I need to help. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's like, believe in yourself. And if someone doesn't believe in you, say, acknowledge it, but don't accept it. Stop accepting what everybody is saying to you. If it doesn't resonate with you, helps you get into a higher frequency too. And this is helping you to get in your truth. You don't need to accept it, honey. If the TV, if 20 billion, but 20 billion people believe in it, great. You don't? Fantastic. It's going to be your uniqueness that is going to draw the people to you. It's going to be your uniqueness, your truth, that is going to draw the prosperity to you. That's going to draw the love to you. That's going to draw the health to you, your spirituality and joy to you. Because if you're unique and if you express yourself in new ways, people are going to go, oh, she's a little different. What's her perspective? Right? So it's kind of like, I'm going to use this crystal as an example. Maybe everybody's looking at the world in this space, but look at all the different spaces that are still connected to this crystal. So if you're like, I'm the one that's seen the dark side of the moon. Well, here we got the astronauts finally seeing the dark side of the moon, right? And uniqueness is they're the first people to see the dark side of the moon. So we got all the attention to them, right? We got all the attention to them. So allow your uniqueness to shine. And even if other people are like, well, I don't like that. Well, then don't watch it. Acknowledge that what they're saying to you, but don't accept it if it doesn't resonate with you. If you do that for everything in your life will change. Your life will change. It's kind of like buying a shirt, right? If you buy a shirt and you're like, I don't know if I like it or not. But then your friend's like, but it's in fashion. It sits in your closet, right? You
Yeah.
never wear it, right? Because you're not like, if you put the shirt on, if you're like, I don't know, it's not your shirt. It's not your shirt. Stop being in the gray point. This is not the time to be in the gray point. This is not the time of yes, no, because the more you bend it, it's got to break. And the space that you are the most connected to frequency is where you're going to get stuck. And then you're like, oh, I can't get to the other side. Well, you kept on going back and forth, back and forth. The angels were going to come down and help you as a metaphor. And then you're like, nope. Oh, well, we're there. Nope. Okay, let's wait. And then you're like, okay. And then you come down to help. Nope. Okay. Is she ready yet? Nope. Well, let me help these other people. Tell me when she's ready. I'm like, okay. And it could be a year, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're in your truth and it gives you joy and passion, there's nothing that can go wrong. It might not, there's going to be other people that aren't going to like it. Believe me, you might lose some friends, people, places, or things, but they're not supposed to be in your frequency. Know that you've learned your lesson with them. Know that you've learned your lesson with them, or that shirt, or that house, or that car, or that, whatever it is. Know that it is going away from you because you're not, it's not that you're better than they are or they're better than you are. It has nothing to do with it. You're just in a different frequency and vibration. Why go challenge or bring everybody's story with you to make them happy? Are they making you happy? Do you know what I'm saying? So be in your happiness, be in your joy, be in your purpose. And if you do it that way, it's like acknowledge it and go, do I acknowledge this? Yes. Is it in my frequency? Yes. Then go that way. I acknowledge it, but I don't want to accept this. Always acknowledge it. Always acknowledge it. Say, but universal source, God, Buddha, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I don't accept that. And then go on. And if you do that, even if you did that for a week, you'll notice the difference. If you did it for a month, you really would notice the difference. That's how to get into a higher frequency. That's how to get into the truth of who you are. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it says dance, it tells you to draw, it tells you to start journaling. I've done that before. It's like I'm journaling. I used to do email readings, but I can't do that now because it takes way more time than just talking. But I used to do it. I'd be like typing because I channel it and I'd read it and go, damn, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Because I was channeling my truth, their truth.
Acknowledge it, but don't accept it. That's going to stick with me.
Yeah. Acknowledge it. Only accept what you truly, truly want to accept in your life. And people are trying to help you because it happened to them. Doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Right? It's like, well, don't get a red car because I get tickets all the time. Doesn't mean you're going to get tickets all the time. Maybe they drove crazy. They don't know how to drive. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're going to drive crazy or you don't know how to drive. Don't get a convertible because you're going to fall out of it and die. It's like, no, that's your story. I'm not accepting your story. I'll acknowledge that you said that to me, but I'm not accepting that story. Delete, delete, delete.
Right. De-
Right?
Debbie, for people who are watching this and want to hear more of your story or connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Okay, if you want to get a reading from me, I'm pretty booked out because I've been like on Next Level Soul and other places. So I'm booked out until August. But if you want a reading, you got to do it now because otherwise I'm going to keep on getting booked out. So my website is called psychicdebbie.com. Real simple. My YouTube, like I was saying, every Tuesday night, unless I'm on vacation, but then I'll put a video up. Every Tuesday night, I do predictions and I do like little blurbs of this to information to people every Tuesday night. And the people that are on the channel, on the chat, they're we've got beautiful people from all over the world connecting, looking for each other. Is Sally here? Is Patty here? Is Kathy here? Da da da. Beautiful things. Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, on my YouTube channel, Psychic Debbie Griggs. Okay. I also have Psychic Debbie Griggs on my Instagram, in my TikTok. And then I also have it on, like Spotify. I take my Tuesday show and I put it in the podcast. If you're like, I want to listen to you. I had so many people go, I listen to you in the car, but I don't want to be like, looking at my phone and I'm like, I don't want people getting in an accident. So I put it into the podcast, so you can listen to it on that way too. Okay. And I'm thinking of doing maybe even a retreat of learning how to do uh spiritual psychic connections, you know what I mean? Being more intuitive. I'm collecting with another gal that's really intuitive. We might do one in September. So that might come up too. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, I'll include all those links in the description as well as the link to the Brazil video that you're talking about and anything else that was mentioned in this podcast that viewers might be curious about. And thank you so much,
I,
Debbie.
I love doing it. I love doing it. So thank you for me. I could talk about this. And a lot of people that have heard this, before, they're going to go, oh, it's the same information, but they're trying to bring, bigger information to people when they're ready. I guess when people are ready, Spirit's going to go, okay, now talk about this.
Mhm.
But I'm in my joy doing this. So thank you.
Good. I'm so glad. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting me do this for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Many blessings.
Thank you so much to Debbie Griggs for taking the time to speak to me and for all the incredible lessons shared in this interview. And thank you for watching this video on T&H Afterlife. If you like videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. It helps us reach more people. And we've created 2 canvases that are now available to purchase. One says everything is connected and the other says nothing is accidental. If you're interested in these, you can view them at the link in our description. Thank you so much.